Welcome to Cultivating Pleasant Places. Today I want to talk to you about homeschooling multiple ages. Before I started homeschooling, this was a big concern of mine, and I've heard it from a lot of other parents. How do I homeschool when I have 4 kids, 2 kids, 7 kids, a baby? There is a little bit of logistical process that you have to think through. So I want to talk about 3 ways you can approach this. You can teach each of your students separately, and there is benefits to this. Although first I want to encourage you, you're not the only one who's dealing with a range of skill sets. Even in a classroom, we think, oh, they're all 4th graders, so they're all at the same level, you're teaching the same content. But teachers are required to meet different skill sets. If you have 30 students in your class, you really have kids at 30 different places. And while you're not able to sit with each one and work with them individually at their level throughout the day, it might be encouraging to a homeschool mom to think, I only have 4 actually to differentiate between. And so the benefit of working with students individually is that they get that one-on-one attention, especially if you're looking at a subject that takes skill and a skill set that is mastered over time. So for instance, math. All of your children are going to probably be at different levels and just need to work on where they are that day in math. There are ways to do it together, and I'll talk about that, but for the most part you need to work with one kid at a time. And so what you can do is give the other kids independent work to do. So they might have something like handwriting that they can work on or independent reading. And really, once your kids are able to read independently, you're not working with them as much. They're able to read on their own, read workbooks, maybe even read their own math assignments. So I will work with one student, one child, and then my other kids know while I'm working with child A, you can be doing your chores, or I might, if they need a little more specific direction, I want you to be doing your handwriting practice right now. So they go and work independently. The second way you can approach teaching different kids at different age levels is you still can bring them together, and you could do all of your homeschooling together as a family and still differentiate where they need some specific instruction. For example, when all my kids were younger and we were really in the midst of learning how to read, I would do that together as much as possible. We'd come and I would ask one kid, I'd have all our alphabet manipulatives or tiles or in a book, and I would ask one kid what letter is this? So my child that was learning to name the letters, but I had another one that was really working more on the sounds, so I would ask them, what sound does this letter make? And then my older kids, I would say, and older being still younger, elementary, but give me a word that begins with an A sound, or spell this word that starts with an A. So I would break out and work with each of them where they were at, but we were still all doing school together. But there are more subjects than you would think where you don't need to separate out by subjects. And I know we've talked about this in videos before, but history does not need to be taught at a 3rd grade level or at a 6th grade level specifically. The family can do it together. We can all study the Civil War. And so you might want to consider doing as many subjects together as you can, and you'll probably end up with some sort of a hybrid model. That's what I've done. So we do our morning time, and I find as many subjects as I can do with the whole family, and we sit on the couch. It doesn't work as well in the reverse if you start everybody doing their own thing and then try to bring them back to the couch or the table. So definitely do it at the beginning of the day when everyone is present, and we will read our Bible and do hymn and do history together, maybe do science. And it actually is fun to have kids at different levels asking different questions, and the younger kids are learning from the older kids, and the older kids are learning to be respectful of the younger kids. And then after that, we will divide up, and my older kids who can read know to go work on their reading assignments. I have that for them on a checklist, and then I just start with math, and one student gets my full attention. while the other kids are doing school or chores, and then the next kid gets my attention with math and we work through it that way. And then I still do a lot of reading aloud. So after we're done getting through math, then I will call them back again one at a time. Isaac, I'm ready to do your reading with you. Elsie, I'm ready to do your reading with you. And then they either have nice built-in breaks or they are productive in another way. But do remember that the amount of time you need in homeschooling to work one-on-one with the student is going to be less. We really can get a lot done in 3 hours. So even if you have 4 school-aged kids, you don't need 8 hours of undivided attention to work with them. So I think when we first come to homeschooling, we have this idea of, I have kids across all these ages. How am I ever going to teach them? But there are a couple practical ways you can do that. So you can work with them separately, you can work with them together collectively as a family, or you can do a hybrid model. Let's talk about babies though for a second. I know for some of us mamas, we have school-age kids and then we have little babies and toddlers, and that is a unique challenge I need to take care of the baby. And so that's the whole family does need to kind of work around mom with the younger children in a sense, but then also toddlers can start learning that mom has to work with the older kids. But some practical tips that might help you. I do always have activities because, again, I want to keep eyes on my younger kids and they want to be involved. Usually I find the toddlers are, when can I start school? When can I come and do school? I want to be with you, be with the family. And so I have some bins, and these don't have to be expensive. I love Montessori type activities. You can make your own, you can buy some. So I usually have some sort of a reading-based activity. Honestly, something like this, it's so beautiful. I love it. There's magnets and letters, and they put them together. But they usually get bored of that after a couple days. So you either need to rotate the activities through, or having something a little more open-ended is helpful. So I always have some sort of imagination play-based activity, a kitchen set, or this is actually a really cute set of paper dolls I found, and we use these when the kids are telling stories back to me for school. So my older kids will read a Shakespeare play and then use paper dolls or Legos or puppets to tell back the story, and I can check that they understood it and they're getting practice narrating, and which is a precursor to writing. So I like to have some sort of open-ended play for younger kids, Legos, Play-Doh, drawing paper, because then they're using their imagination. Sometimes I can tie it in with the school, but also if it's a specific skill task, they will get bored of that quickly. I have some founding father puppets that all the kids love for some reason. Of course, they're rarely the founding fathers. There's usually some other story going on with that. I have a lot of math manipulatives, so I just kind of throw it all in one bin. I used to separate it out, but sorting nests for birds where you could do sort by color, sort by type, sort by doing multiplication or addition. So, but again, my girls usually, we have some birds that they can put in here, and they end up having some sort of story about the mommy bird, and they went on an adventure. I love these. These are wrap-up math facts, and so sometimes I give my students, my kids, worksheets, but there are other ways that you can learn your times tables on your own. This has the answers on the back, so they'll do 2 + 2 and then they check, yes, I got that correct. So those are fun. They have them for math. I'm realizing this is actually states and capitals, but that's a fun independent activity. I have lots of blocks. Of course, in math, we actually use a lot of manipulatives from the kitchen. So we'll take beans, and I'll have sacks of beans. If I put felt out, they love to make things out of felt. So that's a good way to keep your toddlers close by and hopefully make your job a little easier. You can spend a lot of time coming up with these activities. Honestly, a pencil and some paper does the trick as well. Or again, Play-Doh. I think Play-Doh has been our biggest hit for kids of all ages. Also remember, with the different age levels, there is a challenge logistically in planning out the day, but there's also a built-in benefit in that the kids are learning from each other in education classes, they call this scaffolding, how you want to pair a child who already has mastered a skill with a kid that's still learning it, and it benefits both. That the child who's learning to read, when they're watching an older kid who's already mastered that skill, they're learning from them, but then having to teach a subject or a concept to younger kids or explain it back, even if you're already familiar with it, helps the older kids to get the practice and to be able to articulate, and then it sticks in their memory more. So it's a built-in benefit to have all these kids at different levels, and they learn from each other, and it's always fun to see how the younger kids catch on quickly. Even when I'm not doing direct instruction with them, they pick up a lot from their older siblings, from the conversations we're having, from seeing them model those skills. So enjoy having those kids, and put any questions you have in the comments.